But I would tell them why we are here in this space, to really scale out what Ethereum has built out, to really enhance the user experience, make it accessible. I know this is kind of like the message from all chains, but we're actually doing it.
We're gonna get to know TBC, who is right now trying to find himself.
Yeah, I kind of had I thought I had a system, and it worked out really well until it didn't.
But what was your worst experience being rugged? Or have you been rugged?
If you haven't been rugged, then you haven't really been in this space.
Good luck, CFTC. Those guys.
They almost rugged half our countries.
Ooh.
Or more.
Now that we're all depressed.
You gotta take a shot. And if you bleed the fifth, it's fine. I respect you. It's like, which layer 2 is the best? I don't know. Maybe it's the one with the guy's mom. Welcome to the Beefy Pod, the official podcast of Beefy, the multi-chain yield optimizer located on 30 different blockchains, getting you some of the greatest yield in all of DeFi. I'm your host, Jorge, and today I'm here with Tom from Metis. Metis is a very unique layer 2 solution that offers a more decentralized take on providing faster, more comprehensive transactions for the Ethereum blockchain. It has tons of users. We have a lot of people on Beefy that absolutely love Metis, diehard fans. So we're super excited to have Tom here today to talk about the amusing and beautiful things that are going on in Metis. How are you today, Tom?
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks, Jorge. Thanks, TBC, for having me.
No problem. By the way, this is TBC, the mystery man behind the virtual mask. He is our marketing guru here at Beefy. He is beautiful, and we are so lucky to have him here today. How are you, TBC?
I'm doing great. Hello, everybody.
Wow, just calm down. You're way too enthusiastic. All right. So, Tom, I think the first thing I wanted to dive in with you is give yourself an opportunity to talk a little bit about yourself. How did you end up as one of the executive leads over at Metis? Maybe what could someone watching this take away if they want to get into the blockchain industry? And then if you could tell us a little bit about Metis and what you guys are doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, so my background is in business and trading, and I've been trading equities, Forex, commodities since 2005. And crypto has always been in the line of sight for me, just dealing with currency, digital assets as well, and applying my family's business experience and being involved in the space. I started really putting myself out there, contributing to the different projects out there, providing, what I know from the traditional business. As some of these projects and startups, they don't have the business side or the business savviness. And, you have developers that don't really market. So really applying that, really people value that because that's a sector that wasn't really driving in new talent. It's an upcoming industry as well. So being involved, being in the space, I got in touch with Elena, the co-founder of Metis, through the events. We had different conversation casually, just as industry colleagues. And at that point, they were looking for somebody to help support and really scale out the ecosystem that have the business experience and also the scaling experience. So that's how I really ended up at Metis. It's been a great almost 2 years now with the organization. I really believe in what they are set out to build and scale. Decentralization is what they really was incepted to do. That's why they created Metis to help really scale out Ethereum. So really it aligned with me personally. And that's why I'm here and still really contributing and growing this space together with them.
Very cool.
Hey, Tom. Hey, Tom, can I ask?
Yeah.
Since you've done business in the real world and you've done business in DeFi, how does it differ or vastly compare? That was a terrible question. Jorge, fix that. What's the difference? What's the massive difference from real world in person business type to just doing everything on Telegram?
I think what he's trying to say is like working in trading and finance for such a long time in a traditional business sense What is it like taking the jump from the traditional world of business into the world of blockchain?
I think that, people that come in from business and jump into the blockchain, it's a different way of doing business. But when it comes down to core sustainability, expenses, how you manage people, how you manage expense, it's a little bit different. And the thing about the I would say crypto industry is you have two different economies, right? You have, hey, we need runway, we have stables for people that need to provide for the family in the real world. And then you have individuals that, hey, I would prefer the asset. So you have two economy that you could take care of your team. So basically here we have a perception of value through our, say, token sale or token raise or whatever, how the public perceive that. Of course, this is not financial advice, but it's a way where people have a perceived value. And that's almost like a traditional business providing, hey, you can have coupons or in-store credit. Hey, as your staff, do you want credit into our products that can be, operated and traded in the industry? So I think from a approach of business, one of the things that I have seen is there's not really focus on budgeting and expense costs because there's this perceived value of like, hey, we have this big treasury, we can utilize it, and this is perceived as dollar value. But in actuality, there's a lot of mechanics of like, hey, can you convert all this to stables at the same time? No, there's like market makers involved. There's like, hey, how do we convert this? This is our liquidity pool. So there's a lot of little different approaches. But in terms of like the key difference, I think it's about how people perceive the value of a project. Sometimes the project is developed, but they don't have a strong revenue model. Maybe it's token emission, but I think that's the key factor. But now you're seeing some strong dApps that have stronger like fee system that really feeds the ecosystem to help them keep them sustainable. I think that's what you're going to see more of now.
Well, you mentioned so interesting stuff. Like I gotta say, like having some type of support in the world of crypto is it's great. I mean, it's kind of like a whirlwind, right? Do you find that being in the crypto space full time is more stressful than being in the traditional space, especially with stuff like yesterday?
Yeah, depends how you manage risks, how you manage your asset, how you are financially sound. Some people that I have interacted in the space are like, I'm 100% in this space, right? This is all I do. This is my total, this is what I'm worth, right? It's what here you see in my wallet. So I think that's harder for people who got engaged in crypto or in this industry and that's all they do, because the conversion from crypto to fiat, there's still like a lot of regulatory compliance things that you have to kind of worry about, taxes as well. These are the things that people have to consider. And if you're kind of middle-aged, still living at home, you don't have a lot of expense, right? Then, you don't have to worry about major bills or, family stuff. And I think our target age group is around 25 to maybe 40 is kind of the majority of what people are in crypto, or the audience, I would say.
I think you're the first person that I've spoken to in the space that has basically said this is our target audience. So I enjoy that. I think a lot of like people get really absorbed in like the ethos and the news cycle, and people forget that part of it is a business and there has to be like a certain user base that's being targeted. So I think that's pretty cool. You mentioned that. I wanted to kind of get back to Metis a little bit. Can you tell me a little bit about how Metis is striving to be decentralized? Especially nowadays, I feel like so many consumers are jumping to what's the fastest, what's the easiest, and having that little abstraction is not necessarily bad, but I think it's really refreshing that you guys seem to focus on decentralization. I was hoping you could dive into the sequencer technology a little bit and how that differs from, say, Arbitrum or Optimism.
Yeah, I think, the goal for every network is really very similar, is to offer a network that's robust, that's lively, censorship resistant. Metis has always had that since inception, and we just released our decentralized sequencer pool. This is the first step. There's a lot of other nuances that would have to build out to really say, hey, we're 100% decentralized from top to bottom, from AWS to our backend and everything else. But we're the first L2 on Ethereum to really decentralize our sequencer pool. So super excited to really push that forward and to really just, one of the things about sequencer is it doesn't become a problem until it is a problem. And we've seen that with a few chains recently. And being a blockchain that you want to provide a infrastructure, payment infrastructure for the real world, you can't go down, not for an hour, not for 2 hours, especially when you say, hey, we're decentralized, and you have access to your asset all the time.
Right.
So our focus is like, hey, we want to build the most lively, robust network out there. This is our main focus, has always been and still is. So we're making steps, strive, advancements, investing times and resource to make sure that we stay ahead of the curve and really contribute to this space.
Very cool. And so the next thing I wanted to ask you, so you mentioned that chains have gone down. Maybe for someone that's not as crypto savvy, could you break down the importance of the sequencer and why it's going to benefit the user having it decentralized?
Yeah, with most L2 right now are created to help scale Ethereum. Why? Because Ethereum is slower, it's high cost. In emerging markets, nobody wants to pay a couple dollars for like a $5 transaction, $10 transaction. It just doesn't make business sense or consumer sense. So L2s were created to help reduce fees, which is really low now with the new update, as well as to be faster. Back in, I would say, last year when there were major mints on Ethereum, it'll clog up the whole network as well and slow things down. But now we don't really face that issue because I would say 80% of transactions on Ethereum are done on L2s now. What's important is a sequencer, it's almost like a single channel that batched to the L1. If it goes down, your transaction will go through, but it doesn't get batched onto the L1. So imagine your cell phone, you're utilizing it and it's not working. It's a hassle, right? You might have to wait an hour, 2 hours. It's not major, but if you really need to make a call to your family, your flights, whatever, that's a big issue. Same thing with transaction. If you need to make a payment, if you need to send funds, in the crypto space, an hour, 2 hours is a long time. So we're looking to, when we decentralize our sequencer, if one goes down, there's another one that can pick it back up, keep it live, and we're all good.
So eliminating the central point of failure is essentially the goal there. And I think this is a good segue. So you mentioned that people want the transactions fast and it needs to be extremely easy to use. I think Solana has had a massive growth recently, and I feel like there's now much more conversation about the differences between Ethereum versus maybe alternative L1s. And I was curious, as a person that works in an L2 on Ethereum, what would you say to maybe someone that might be just trading the kookiest meme coin in the universe on Solana? Why use an L2 built on Ethereum?
I would say the why would be the decentralization. For Solana, they've done an amazing job providing accessibility to users, and as a contribute to the industry, I wouldn't say, hey, choose us or choose them. The best thing is choose what different ecosystem is offering. I know right now Solana is really popular with the small cap, the meme tokens. If that's the market that is attracting you, continue. But there's also other options too, right? There's other L2s that are offering same kind of environment. So I think it's about accessibility and what you're really into. We're here to provide the infrastructure, and what we're focusing on is decentralization, robustness, and censorship resistant. So if those are the key things that really attract you for products that, hey, if it goes down, I can still have access to my dApps, my asset, then that's perfect. I think there's I don't want to point like, hey, we're good here or good there. I think every network has its own kind of nuances still.
Gotcha. So you mentioned too that there's a certain kind of user. Maybe you might have alluded to that. Like a certain user might look for a certain use case. So I wanted to know, when people go to Metis, what type of applications are they jumping onto? Like, are they gaming? Are they using DeFi? Are they trying to do real world assets? Is it evenly split across all these things? What would you say best identifies what Metis is used for mostly by its users?
Yeah, for sure. For us, in the past, I would say a couple of years, we've been really heavy on the DeFi side. We have Aave, we work with Chainlink, we have Stargate as well. But now we're really diving into the consumer side, gaming, social fi as well. We're doing a prediction campaign in parallel with some of the Olympic Games going on, so people can interact with their favorite sports team, and just makes it more exciting. So currently, we will be onboarding DeFi Kingdom, which we're super excited about. They're one of the OGs in the space for gaming, and we have a few other gaming partners that will be coming online for fairly soon. Arena Faith, we're working closely with them as well. Exciting mobile game. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend check them out.
I'll put a link to it below for sure.
Awesome.
And so it sounds like there's an effort to diversify kind of the amount of applications that are out there on Metis right now. So if the majority is using it for DeFi at the moment, why do you think that is?
I think that's why people are attracted to this space. They see the opportunity, they see some of the possible upside, I would say. And then they start engaging like, hey, how do I interact? DeFi, P2P, I would say asset transmitting is still one of the biggest thing. So there's different gamification for DeFi, right? People are here. If they wanted to play games, they'll play on their console. But now we're interacting and adding the layer of DeFi to the game, which makes it a little bit more interesting, which makes it unique, right? Why would you play games here versus here? So I think for the DeFi side, it's also another way to really interact. If you're trading, you can trade 24/7 on a major kind of perp platform or a DeFi platform, which makes it pretty interesting for people like me and people around the world, or people who don't have access or have limitation to accessibility for some of these applications that they can't access normally in their country.
I see. Yeah, I mean, definitely for me, like what attracted me was DeFi, like no doubt about it. I was just fascinated with just a very simple idea, that you can remove the like person in between as much as possible. Because like seeing that you come from finance, I'm sure you've seen that it's a lot of people in the middle, and that's how they make money, like taking fees here and there. So I think that's like an interesting prospect as DeFi grows and as real world assets get integrated and such. I think something that sometimes gets lost in translation too is the user experience. It's all, this is super fast. Look at all this crazy liquidity. Look at this, look at this, look at this. But what is Metis doing to make it easier for people to easily be onboarded into crypto? And if it's not, what are the steps that you guys are taking to make it easier to onboard into Metis?
Yeah, for the next 6 to 12 months, we're really focusing on the user acquisition, the user experience, working with quite a few builders and projects that are really abstracting the blockchain experience and dApp experience. I think that's one of the hardest things. Even for me, I've been always saying, hey, it still feels like DSL when I'm using blockchain and I'm cross-checking all these addresses. I think we're quite not there yet, but it's getting a lot easier. People can log in with their emails, their phone numbers. So we have different protocols that are really integrating on the account abstraction side, from Nuvo, Score Milk, where you can just log in, play game with your email, and you have an account set up, and you can interact and play with each other. So I think just really supporting some of these builders that are really focused on the account abstraction, bringing them into the ecosystem to help our developers have accessibility is kind of the key thing that we're really focused on.
Very cool. Yeah, I think it's cool that you have that in mind. Like, how can we make this easier so we can onboard not just, I feel like, Metis, but at Beefy, we really strive to make the experience of using DeFi and like getting yield. We have tons of Metis products, by the way, in case you want to check that out. Link below. But we try very hard to make it as easy to use as possible. I mean, try to keep it simple and add those features so that way you're just in and out. You shouldn't be looking at your phone 24/7 to use DeFi, if that makes sense. So I want our audience to get to know you a little bit better. So I think I might just start this tradition where we ask all of our guests these questions, but I wanted to ask you, and TBC and I will answer this as well, but everyone in crypto has been rugged at some point. There's that rug pull situation. Maybe you've had a couple. You don't need to say how many, but what was your worst experience being rugged, or have you been rugged? And if not, what can I do to be like you when I grow up?
If you haven't been rugged, then you haven't really been in this space. You
Yes.
know, we've been, I think the industry, you can say, hey, we've been rugged by FTX, by Celsius, by some of these bigger, protocols as well. So, in terms of, I would say my biggest, or the one that I can really just, that maybe more impactful, or that impacted me the most, would probably say Terra Luna and Anchor.
Ooh,
I would say.
that was a tough one. I don't blame you at all. I sometimes get called out on this show for talking about that way too much, but it was just so gnarly. Like, God, that was like the mass rugging, the ruggening, if you will. I just invented a historical term.
They almost rugged half a country. So I mean, or more.
God, I used to. I remember when I went to Decentral Miami for the first time, how many people kept saying he was a genius, and I was just very lucky. I held the token, but I never interacted with it. I was just so comfortable using like L2s and Phantom, like anything that was EVM, I was cool with at that time. So I just held the token, and I sold when it was like $110, I think, and and it was like 2 days later, the whole thing crashed, and I was just like, God, I got lucky.
Man, yeah, I think one thing I can share is like I probably rugged myself from sending to the wrong address. So that happened.
Classic.
So I would blame myself as the biggest rugger to myself.
Okay, I feel you. Yeah, that is a classic, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't hurt. Spend 5 minutes looking back and forth at that address. You just got to make sure that you got it right. And so now we're going to get to know TBC, who is right now trying to find himself, is what it looks like on the screen, if I'm not mistaken. So, TBC, tell us about an impactful rug that you went through.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, well, traditional rugs per se, probably not. I mean, I was in 2020, 2021, so I invested in a lot of stupid crap just like the rest of us did, and we had no idea what we're doing, and some of that went to zero, but whatever. So when I first got into crypto a long time ago, I used to, I guess, bet with Bitcoin, and that was not a good thing. I kind of
Sorry, just the way you're wording this.
I kind of had I thought I had a system, and it worked out really well until it didn't. And then I lost a bunch of Bitcoin, and now when I look at how much Bitcoin I lost, it's unpleasant. My least favorite moment, I think, was really when multi-chain failed. Oof. And had to deal with that issue. But yeah, like multi-chain was probably the least enjoyable few moments that I experienced in crypto. Getting rugged from like a protocol like Duck Swap. I don't know if that's a new thing. Maybe it was Goose Swap back in the day. I probably knew what I was getting into. But when something as big as multi-chain goes down and you're going, oh my God, how do I get out of this, and how do I unwind? That was probably the hardest and the most regrettable, I suppose. But hey, you live and you learn, and just like everybody else, you won't make that same mistake again, right?
Hopefully. So mine actually got back into my life recently because I had a I cannot speak on this individual, but I had someone who is currently in a lawsuit or involved in a lawsuit from a rug back in 2021. Someone who is going after you bastards at Ring Financial. Anyways, it was I was trying to figure out the name, but they reached out to me and I was like, oh my God, that was like the worst rug I ever had in my life. So I kind of knew what I was getting into. It was like a node thing where it was like you put 10 tokens, you get a node, then you get a token a day. And for a little bit, it paid out really well. But then the next thing I knew, I opened the app and it was gone. Like the token went to zero like in a day after like 2 weeks of being in this thing. And that was the painful life lesson. But apparently the CFTC is coming after him because I got messages about it. And I'm not involved, but good luck, CFTC. F those guys.
Oh my God.
There you go. I'm still salty, still licking the wound. Okay, so Tom, I wanted to ask you. So
Now that we're all depressed.
now that we've gone through our pity party, so one of the things about Metis that I find very, very fascinating, and I was hoping you could elaborate on it. So as I understand it, Vitalik's mother is heavily involved in the project, right?
Yes, she's a contributor to the foundation. Yeah.
I find that to be such a like trump card moment. It's like which layer 2 is the best? I don't know. Maybe it's the one with the guy's mom involved, So I've always found that kind of interesting. So I wanted to ask you, so how did that come about? How did the co-founders like Elena, Kevin, and I'm trying to remember the name of the other one. I might have forgotten to write that down. How did they end up meeting? Is it Amelie? I think is her name.
Natalia Ameline. So there's Kevin,
Natalia Ameline.
there's Peter, and there's Elena.
Peter and Elena. Sorry. So how did everyone meet, and how did this all come to be? I just find that fascinating that you have this unique team.
From what I know, and I would say they would probably be the best to really share their story. Elena and Natalia have been working together on an initiative called Crypto Chicks to really bring education to women and just in general the general public. The project is still live, still supporting individuals interested in learning crypto to onboard. And I believe Kevin and Elena met at an event, and they really share the same vision and purpose. And for Elena and Natalia, they always contribute to the space in one way or another. And of course, having that relationship, I'm pretty sure there's like a lot of exposure for Natalia's side. But overall, I think that's how the story went. And here we are today with Metis, and still ongoing with our mission and passion that's shared with our teams and people contributing to the foundation side.
Fantastic. And so as a person that has to work with Natalia, I'm sorry I called you Emily. I guess that's your last name. That's my fault.
You could edit that part out,
I could edit it out, but I'm human, and I'm going to show all my imperfections with Beefy, the multi-chain yield optimizer on 30 different chains. Check us out. Anyways, before I lose track, I wanted to ask you, so what's it like to work with her? Have you ever had an opportunity to chat with her? And if you did, and in your first time, was there this moment where it's like, this is kind of surreal, I'm meeting this person? Has that ever come across to you before?
I would say Natalia is amazing. She's just like anybody else, but very, very focused, very smart as well. Sometimes people just know her, as, the mother of Vitalik, but as an individual, she's extremely smart. She contributes to what we're doing, and we communicate and also converse quite often. On a daily, weekly as well. So, but back to your question, how did it feel? I felt like, because I didn't really know who she was or who she was as a person, it just felt like, who is this person? But after talking, it's just like anybody else, just a friend,
Very cool.
Just a colleague, So don't be afraid to say hi to Natalia if she's here. That's just a normal person. Yeah.
I'll be coming in with my face all red, like, hey, I talked about you on this show. I was extremely awkward, but, we made it work. All right. So, another fun question for the whole cast here to answer today. So, there's obviously many different chains, many different projects, and many different applications that are out in the space. And so, my question to everyone here, what is a chain or project that seems to have so much love all over the place, but you just don't see the potential? I'll ask TBC first.
Oh my God, dude. I'm not ready for this question. They got potential, but you don't see the love?
No, they have the love, but you don't see the potential. It's kind of like they have religion, but they don't, it's like you might not. We could skip the question if you guys want, by the way. It's not a big deal. I know mine. And I don't think it's that controversial.
You go ahead.
Okay, so I'll give you guys an example. So mine in particular is actually the first cryptocurrency that brought me into blockchain, and that is XRP. Now, it's a big organization. They have a lot of partnerships, but as a crypto user, I just don't get it. Like once I discovered Ethereum and everything else under the sun and Solana, and I really appreciate their court victory and what they mean for the legal space in the United States. It was supposed to be a bridge currency. Now they're doing a stable coin. So isn't that just using it to get into USDC, I guess, and then, sending it to another person? I just don't get it. You can send people, like, you can use Metis, for example, and it's just as fast as XRP to send USDC to someone else. I just don't see the point. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I know they have something called Flare. It's like a layer 2. And I might get a lot of hate for this. Maybe I'm just uneducated.
No, you're not.
But that's mine personally.
You make a good argument there. There's a lot of those early token projects, right? That came out. They had a lot of
good idea when it started, by the way, just to be clear. But I just don't see the point anymore.
But DeFi developed quicker and transitioned faster, and some of those projects just didn't keep up and stay relevant with the speed of how DeFi develops. And I mean, XRP is a great example. There's, you could take any one of those, maybe we call them the OG tokens, and you think, how many of those do you really interact with on a daily basis or work with from a BD standpoint, or how many of those projects have taken the opportunity to really reinvent themselves and try to say, hey, we're going to stay relevant, and we're going to really change and alter what our plan was originally to develop with DeFi as DeFi progresses. Yeah, XRP certainly hasn't done it. I don't think it's any controversy. I mean, is there XRP people still out there? Like, I mean, we're all smiling, but who are they, right? And do you take them serious?
I mean, I'm sure they're out there. I mean, the coin is high on the market list and whatnot. And this isn't coming from a place of hate. I just don't get it. If someone from XRP wants to come on the show and break this down for me, love to have you on. The invitation is open. Tom, do you have an answer? Or you want to plead the fifth?
Honestly, pleading the fifth was on my mind. But since you brought up XRP, that's actually a good example. Maybe Beefy should open up a vault or build something with XRP. That's the first step, right?
Hey.
Yeah. Okay. We had XRP. We used to have XRP stuff early on in the BSC days. But no one's doing anything with XRP these days. And there's a lot of those projects, they're still big. I still see their market caps. I still, you can look down that list and you can go, what do they actually do? And that, Jorge, that would be a fun game for us one day. We could have Tom back on and we could run down the top 100 protocols on CoinGecko and say, what do these projects actually do?
Okay, that might be way too much fun, way too controversial. But whatever, we're here to break hearts, I guess, and get people the most competitive yield in all of DeFi at Beefy. So you were saying, Tom?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of chains out there. You see some of these dog chains, Shibarium, all these upcoming chains, like people don't have no idea about, but it's targeting certain audience or utilizing, say, the Doge token and such. So I think there's quite a few chains out there, but XRP is actually a really good one. They've been through a lot, and they've had great partnership with notable names and banks as well. So it seems like it's not going anywhere and maybe still being utilized. Yeah, it's interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's what I find interesting about them. It seems like they keep growing. It seems like they're making tons of money, and I just don't understand how. Like, if it's a bridge currency, I mean, you can use Bitcoin. I get that it has fees, but I mean, there's ETH, there's Solana, it's just, I just don't see it. Every cryptocurrency can do that now. So I just, maybe there's something I'm missing here, and that's totally fine. I'm always open to being wrong and learning something new. And I hope everyone on this chat is. But
well,
yeah.
To be fair, one more time for XRP, they have faced a mountain of litigation
and won.
On the behalf of all of us. So if they go down in history as we don't understand your project or your token anymore, but we thank you for your service to the community.
I shouldn't laugh at that, but
I think, but it's like it's
true.
It's kind of like the fairest point, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's like they fought a battle the rest of us couldn't win.
That's true.
If we had to.
That's true. I mean, yeah, that's a very powerful point. So I got one last fun question. And if everybody wants to plead the fifth, that is totally fine. For those of you that maybe are not American and have never heard of pleading the fifth, it's when you get arrested, you have a right to stay silent. If you're in court, you don't need to answer a question. You could just stay silent. So it's a right to silence. Anyway.
Sir, is it true you were a crack cocaine dealer for 7 years? I plead the fifth.
Anyways. What project or chain is out there that you might find kind of sketchy? Maybe it's big, maybe it's small, but it comes off as sketchy. I'll go first if you guys want a good example. If that works. Okay.
Okay, please. The floor is yours.
Okay. So mine I feel like is kind of fair. And like I said, I'm totally open to being wrong. Maybe I'm missing something. Blast strikes me as quite sketchy. I mean, just the whole, I'm going to send you tokens, and they're just going to be held in this place, and eventually this chain is going to be active, and tons of applications and whatnot, and you can withdraw everything at some point. That always sketches me out, just personally. Like, if I can't get in and out whenever I want, no bueno. I don't want to touch it. But that's just me. And if you want to do that, that's cool. It's your money. You can do whatever you want. We don't offer financial advice here at Beefy. Only the highest and best yields in all of DeFi on 30 different chains.
God, shameless. All right, can I go? It's going to be no surprise if anyone's ever seen an episode. It's Solana. It's always going to be Solana. I have a personal vendetta against Solana. And then again, I think any chain, not just Solana, but any chain that could just shut themselves off, I think is a bit much. And I hold them. I say, hey, I understand you guys are doing your project, you're doing what you need to do, but that's the minute you turn off and you prevent people from transacting, you're violating some of the basic rules and values of DeFi. And decentralization is the way. It's key. It's what we all uphold, and it's super important for a reason. Mm-hmm. But if you're shutting off the chain, oh boy, that's a problem.
Those are fighting words. Yeah. But I feel like that's, but in fairness, as a person that has some Solana, I will say that it's an extremely strong point. Like, undoubtedly. It's a part of my portfolio. It's not in the decentralization circle, but I think it's going to have its place in the space. I could be totally wrong. Something
No one
faster.
wants to develop on Rust. All right, I don't care. I'm not buying it. There ain't no one using Solana. I don't care what anyone says. Sorry, Tom. I don't mean to be. There's plenty of great chains out there,
like Metis.
right? Metis is great. I don't care.
According
Solana,
to L2B,
you suck.
Metis is the 12th largest layer 2 with its daily transactions per second up over 246%. People are on there. People are doing things. And we're not just saying that because they're partners. It's on the website. I will link to it in the description if you want to learn more.
Oh my god.
Anyways,
All right, Tom. Come on. You gotta take a shot here at somebody.
you got to take a shot. And if
Honestly,
you plead the fifth, it's fine. I respect you. I won't hold it against you.
Yeah, I would say I would plead the fifth, but I think for a lot of the projects and the chains, they come in with a certain intent. But most of the time, it's either, we don't have all the solution right away, even for Solana, even for some of these other chains as well. You mentioned Blast. I think it's just a big DeFi protocol on chain. So
Yeah.
if you look at some of the DeFi protocol, you're still stuck. You're still experiencing that, but on a bigger scale with maybe more moving parts. But from all the major names, I think everybody has their own struggle. So I think I'll plead the fifth on this one.
Okay, fair enough.
yeah.
Well done. Well done. We won't hold it against you. He just came on to let us talk about our feelings, and he listened. It's such a beautiful thing to do. What a great friend you are, Tom.
Always.
I bet you answer the phone for all your friends, and they're like, "I'm having a bad day." It's all right, home girl or home guy.
Yeah.
I'll listen. So before I let you go, Tom, I wanted you to give the folks what is the pitch for the average user or maybe someone that doesn't know about crypto. What is something that you want to tell them about Metis? Why should they move their funds and start playing around with applications today? Maybe you're a developer and you're considering developing on Metis. What's the pitch?
First off, I wouldn't tell anybody to move their funds, but I would tell them.
Excuse me. Sorry.
No worries. But I would tell them why we are here in this space, to really scale out what Ethereum has built out, to really enhance the user experience, make it accessible. I know this is kind of like the message from all chains, but we're actually doing it. We designed our economic model, we designed our distribution model, we designed everything we're investing in is really just focused on the network, robustness, liveliness. You see that as for our chain from the Meta side was one of the first ones to move DA off chain to really reduce the fees. We were modular before modular was a key, it was a niche phrase. And now we're pushing the decentralized sequencer side as well, leading that side for the L2 on Ethereum, sharing the I would say, block rewards to any contributors or builders. So if you're a builder that wants to really take part ownership, I would say, of the network through our sequencer or through contributing, we have a lot of programs that make you and give you the value of contributing to the art chain and our ecosystem.
Very cool. Tom, I just want to say it's been a little while since we shot an episode, but it was so much fun. I really appreciate you coming on. And we here at Beefy, we love Metis. We love you guys. We have a lot of fun working with you guys, and I know we're going to do a lot more in the future. Don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you on again. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
All right, thanks, Tom.